What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Paddy Pimblett receives a warning for Bobby Green fight. This summer, Paddy Pimblett will make his return to the octagon at UFC 304 in Manchester, England, where he'll take on Bobby Green in a highly anticipated lightweight showdown. Although the baddie will be the fan favorite inside the arena on fight night, Leon Edwards believes that Bobby Green will be the one to get the job done. During a recent interview with UFC 304 co-headliner Tom Aspinall, Edwards broke down the fight.
I think if Bobby Green shows up, I'll probably favour Bobby Green if he shows up.
Yeah.
But I can also see a way for victory for Paddy as well. By taking it to the ground and grinding him out a little bit and then going for the submission.
Ahead of the fight, Green sits as a slight betting favorite on most major sports books, meaning the MMA community seems to be in agreement with Edwards regarding how things could play out. With Pimblett looking to pick up his 6th straight win inside the octagon and crack the top 15, and Green eager to make it 2 straight after a UFC 300 win over Jim Miller, the stakes couldn't be higher for both fighters heading into UFC 304. Next up, let's take a look at Sean O'Malley predicts Leon Edwards versus Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev's sights have been set on a move up in weight in pursuit of champ status for quite some time now. While the move may not happen for this next fight, it seems to be a matter of when Makhachev moves up rather than a question of whether or not he will do so. During a recent episode of the Timbo Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley and his coach, Tim Welsh, shared their thoughts on a potential bout between Makhachev and Leon Edwards.
God damn it, how do you think Leon Edwards is going to shut down Islam's takedown? He takes everyone down. Of course, Leon's 6'2", he's a little bit taller, and he stuffed Usman's takedowns, but Usman was a shell of himself. Islam was going to grab a hold of him, take him down, and choke him. To be honest, I do think Leon beats Islam 155 to 170 is a big jump. It's not 10 pounds, it's 15. Wait.
From the sounds of things, Islam Makhachev's next opponent will likely be Arman Tsarukyan. In the event that he emerges from the bout successful and Leon Edwards successfully defends his title against Bilal Muhammad in Manchester, the pair could potentially wind up fighting in 2025. Next up, let's take a look at Dustin Poirier breaks silence on retirement. After his UFC 302 loss to Islam Makhachev, Dustin Poirier made it clear that fans had likely seen him compete for the last time. During this week's episode of the MMA Hour, Poirier spoke about the status of his career, answering the question that has been gripping the MMA community.
I still don't know. I still don't know. I can't say I'll never fight again, but I just don't know the reason. What am I going to fight for? To get into a battle, I love that, but man, I've taken some lumps over the years. It has to be for something, and maybe that's something I'll recognize that or realize that in the coming weeks. I don't know, but I'm just taking it one day at a time. But yeah, I'm leaning towards being done.
More so than ever?
Yeah, for sure.
To the point where you
especially without getting the title fight. Like, how many more times would I need to fight to put myself back in position to fight for the world title? I don't know. And like I said, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to fight 5 more times trying to earn another title shot.
As the Diamond explained, while he isn't entirely shutting the door on a return, he won't be making any calls to Hunter Campbell for a fight.
I'm not calling.
No, okay, fair enough. You will never call.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
When Helwani threw out the idea of a potential rematch with Conor McGregor or a long-awaited fight with Nate Diaz, Poirier wasn't interested.
I wanted the belt, but I got to see how I feel. Like, talking about those things is not exciting to me. But if my phone rang right now and it was Hunter and he said, hey, this fight, maybe I got to see how I feel when it's offered to me. That's how I know what decision to make, right? Talking about it, nothing seems attractive to me.
Whether or not the Diamond changes his mind in the future, we'll just have to wait and see. Next, let's take a look at George St-Pierre claims Islam Makhachev is the best fighter in the UFC. In the wake of Islam Makhachev's recent victory at UFC 302, there's been quite a bit of debate regarding the pound-for-pound rankings. While Dana White and many members of the MMA community have John Jones atop their pound-for-pound ladder, others believe that, with his activity, Islam Makhachev deserves the title of pound-for-pound king. The way George St-Pierre sees things, Makhachev is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. He spoke about the situation in the recent video alongside TriStar Gym's Faraz Zahabi.
He's amazing. I think right now he's the best pound for pound right now because of his last few performances. Just amazing. An amazing showcase of heart too, because he had a bad cut on his forehead, and Poirier gave him a tough time. Pushed the pace to the edge, And I think that fight gonna make Makhachev even better, because these are the fight that make you grow.
Is he gonna be a legend, Makhachev? Is he gonna be one of the greats?
Oh yeah, I think he's already starting to get to that status right now, because he, beating Volkanovski and now his last few performances are amazing.
After competing against another pound-for-pound king in Khabib Nurmagomedov several years back, Dustin Poirier shared his thoughts on the difference between Nurmagomedov and Makhachev on the MMA Hour.
Takedowns are different. Pressure's similar. Takedowns are a little different. He does a lot of upper body stuff. He kept trying to clinch up with me. Khabib would shoot lower shots. I think Khabib was stronger, physically stronger. Islam's squeeze was incredible. The whole fight, he felt okay. All of these guys are strong, but it wasn't overwhelming. But his squeeze, that torque he got in that Darce choke, and it was like a vice, it was like a vice grip.
While the MMA community has remained split on who deserves the title of pound-for-pound king, UFC.com currently has Makhachev occupying the top spot. Next, let's take a look at UFC updates. After this past weekend's UFC Fight Night Louisville card, let's take a look at today's UFC fight updates, starting with a welterweight bout between Gilbert Burns and Sean Brady, which has been booked as a 5-round headliner for September 7th. The bout will see Burns look to snap a 2-fight skid that most recently saw him fall to Jack Della Maddalena back in March, after a lengthy layoff following his UFC 288 loss to Bilal Muhammad. On the flip side, Brady will be looking to build on the December win over Kelvin Gastelum, which returned him to the win column a year after suffering the first loss of his professional career at UFC 280. This weekend, Rizin bantamweight champion Kai Asakura made a stunning announcement revealing that he had vacated his title and signed with the UFC. While addressing the crowd at Rizin 47, Asakura spoke about the situation. "I'm giving up my belt and going to the UFC. I think there will be an announcement from the UFC soon. But it's official that I'm going. This should be exciting news, but right now I feel very lonely. I believe that thanks to Rizin, I, who was originally no one, was recognized as a fighter, a martial artist, a man. And last year, on New Year's Eve, it was Mr. Sakakibara who accepted my selfish request to go to the UFC without a single defense. I would like to thank Mr. Sakakibara from the bottom of my heart for his support. Thank you very much." According to a report from MMA Mania's Alex Bahunin, the UFC is looking to have Asakura make his official UFC debut against a top 5 opponent. While so far there hasn't been any news regarding who he'll fight, it seems to be only a matter of time before a bout is finalized. Next, let's take a look at Jared Cannonier furious with UFC referee. Jared Cannonier wasn't too happy with referee Jason Herzog for calling off his UFC Fight Night Louisville scrap with Nasruddin Imavov in the 4th round this past weekend. While momentum had swung Imavov's way as he landed a barrage of strikes, Cannonier was still defending himself, making the stoppage a highly controversial one. During Monday's episode of the MMA Hour, he took aim at Herzog for the stoppage.
Well, when it happened, it was gut-wrenching to say the least. It definitely took some time to collect myself. I had to go back and rewatch the fight and really relive the whole thing all over again. And it was really gut-wrenching. It feels like the opportunity to do great things was pretty much stolen from me in that moment. And it's just something that, as fighters, we win and we lose, and then we have to live with it, and it's definitely not fun. Doesn't get any easier every time.
In addition, Cannonier also explained that he wasn't actively in the process of running away at the time of the stoppage, as some members of the MMA community have claimed.
If I would have ran away and then not thrown anything back, that's another story. You know what I mean? If I would have run away and just covered up, no, I ran away. I was ready to start hand fighting. I was ready to clinch up with this man. I pushed him off when he threw that knee. I got some more space. He approached me again. I threw a right hook. I covered up so I don't go take any more shots, and then the ref stepped in. That's how that happened. It wasn't me running away from my opponent.
Because of the stoppage, Cannonier wants to run things back with Imavov at the UFC Fight Night Paris card in September. According to Cannonier, Mick Maynard may even be interested in booking a rematch. In the meantime, Jason Herzog posted on social media about the situation, reflecting on his decision to stop the fight while writing, "I get it. I know what I was seeing in the moment, but I've gotten enough feedback telling me I need to reevaluate, so I will." Now, let's shift gears and take a look at Chito Vera reveals he was offered Henry Cejudo fight. While Marlon Chito Vera is currently preparing for a bout with Davison Figueiredo, he nearly found himself booked to fight Henry Cejudo once more. The pair had previously been scheduled to fight at UFC 292. However, at the time, Cejudo withdrew from the fight with an injury. During a recent episode of the MMA Hour, Vera opened up on how a rebooking nearly happened.
They offered me Cejudo first. They say, you want to fight Henry? I say, yeah, I fight a little. I called Parillo and I was like, hey coach, they offer this, what do you think? He's like, let's do it. You're in the gym, you're looking good, you're focused and you seem hungry, so let's go for it. They call me back and they say like, oh, we have different plans for him, or I don't really know the exact thing. They say, what about Figueiredo? I say, yeah.
With Figueiredo being a former champ, Vera is preparing to pull out all the stops for a hard fight.
I'm taking this just as serious as I was taking the title fight, all the fights before. I'm gonna get in there and let this motherfucker know we're on my time. And if I have to dig deep and go to the basement and pull all the demons, we'll bring them.
While some have questioned whether or not he has taken enough time to rest up after his UFC 299 loss to Sean O'Malley, he remarkably left Miami without any serious injuries, despite being outstruck 230 significant strikes to 89 throughout the 5-round affair.
Hunter called me and he's like, how you feeling? And I said, I'm great. He's like, are you hurt? I was like, no at all. I took damage on the fight, but nothing was broken, nothing was injured, nothing was torn or anything, thank God. So I told him, I'm good. And he's like, are you training? I'm like, that's all I do.
With both he and Figueiredo looking to enter the title picture in a stacked 135-pound division, it'll be interesting to see how things play out in August. The MMA community roasts Aljamain Sterling for his response video to the UFC documentary, which showed Hunter Campbell convincing Aljo to take the Sean O'Malley fight. Here's Aljamain Sterling's response.
I know we've seen the video circulating all over the social media interwebs, conversation between myself, my management, and Hunter. I wasn't really excited to see that clip again because I had to relive all those emotions again. Kind of riled me up a little bit because it really did piss me off in that moment of time back then, just how everything kind of unfolded. Because if you look at the series of events, I just fought, I had a really hard training camp to make that weight cut. 5 rounds, hard fight, and then they don't make fights the night of the fight, but somehow, for whatever reason, my fight in particular just happened to be made that night. Yeah, it wasn't the easiest decision to just say, yeah, I'm a badass, I'll turn around and fight. And I know the whole narrative of can't get out of my own way, don't do myself any services when I get to social media and whatnot. But from that night, I said, I don't know what he's talking about. I have no desire to fight right now. And that was the whole thing I was saying. I have to heal up and see how my body holds up. I've relived those emotions all over again watching that clip. And I could just put myself back in that situation, being in that room and feeling like, yeah, you're telling me no and I could sit out, but then you're also telling me, well, if you don't fight, then you don't fight for almost a year. And that's not cool either. So you almost tie my hands behind my back. But I take the path that I was like, you know what? If I'm going to roll the dice, because my teammates, my managers are all pushing me to do it, I'm going to roll the dice. And everyone's kind of saying like,
here's what the MMA community had to say to Aljo. Fun fact, fighters don't have to say yes to a fight offered to them. Another fun fact, if you say no to a fight offer, the UFC isn't obligated to give you another fight for another 6 months. Wish more fans understood that it's not so black and white. LMAO, you a lame, and UFC wanted a non-lame as champ. This dude just needs to stop talking at this point. I'm from Long Island originally, and I'm usually super biased towards all those guys, but this dude is so hard to root for. I think O'Malley and his broken rib negate any sort of time disadvantage. My teammates and my manager are all pushing me to do it. So what we talking about, man? Stop playing the victim. Exactly, this guy's a grown man. LMAO, he needs a backbone. This video exactly what Dana was saying, LOL. Dude stinks. Bigger crybaby, Strickland or Aljo? Unreal how much whining these two dudes be doing. Aljo by a mile. It's close. Strickland has legit beef. He beat DDP and got shafted with no rematch. Aljo could have just said no, LOL. He was the champion. I don't want to hear this ish. Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is in jeopardy again after Ariel came out with an update to UFC 303 on Twitter. He wrote, "Around this time last week, all the anxiety surrounding the UFC 303 main event seemed to start to dissipate. By Wednesday, no more feelers about replacements were being sent out. All systems seemed to be a go again. Later in the week, Chandler did an interview with The Pivot about it being all good, And on Saturday, UFC was promoting it again on the ABC Fight Night telecast. There was a scare about the fight being off, and the scare appeared to be no more. But since this morning, multiple sources are now saying feelers are being sent out again for June 29th, for a replacement or new fights. In short, there seems to be pessimism all over again regarding the status of the 303 main event. Actually, even more pessimism, it seems, than on Monday last week after the presser was canceled at the last minute. Is this insurance? Due diligence? Emergency replacement mode? Remains to be seen. It's all developing again, but it doesn't appear as though we are out of the woods either way just yet. More to come, and hopefully a definitive answer one way or the other in short order.
Top comments. Imavov is delusional. Sean just 50-45'd you like 2 fights ago and is coming off a legit W. When you just got a gift from the ref, run that Jared fight back. Leon paying a man 1,500 pounds a day for him to say, "Go bed now, mate." Judging a fighter for smoking is hilarious when they literally put their life on the line every time they fight. The ref for Cannonier versus Imavov is a good ref, he just made a really bad call. Strickland should fight for the belt next. It's not fair he has to fight again.